1 billion mark to pay for the damage. It was the beginning of the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were murdered. Shortly after Crystal Night, the Nazi came to our house and told us that we'd have to get out of the house. He was the new owner. Where did we go? On January 1, 1939, my mother dressed my sister in warm clothing, packed a small suitcase, and bought a train ticket to Amsterdam, Holland for her. My sister was 10 years old and did not have a visa to go to Holland. My mother got on the train with her and walking through the train asked people to take my sister to Amsterdam for Holland. Fortunately, there was a very kind Dutch woman on the train who had a daughter, my sister's age, who was not with her, but who was noted in her passport. She agreed to take my sister and brought her to Amsterdam, where she turned her over to the Jewish community of Amsterdam. My mother went home and did the same thing with me on Sunday, January 15, 1939. I was 12 years old at the time. However, this time nobody on the train would help us. When we got to the border, an SS man came on board to check passports. He took my mother's passport from her and she had to get off the train. He allowed me to stay on the train, even though I did not have a visa to go to Holland. After I crossed the border, the Dutch border police came on board. I showed them my passport, but no visa. He asked me where I was going. I told him I was going to visit my uncle in Amsterdam. He told me I was lying and took me off the train. The policeman had me sit on a bench on the platform. It was very cold, and he poured me a cup of hot chocolate and a cheese sandwich and left. I sat there for several hours. In the meantime, 2 trains to Germany came by and left, and they did not put me on these trains to send me back to Germany. After a while, the policeman came back and took me to a small hotel. Evidently, they were not sending me back, at least not that evening. I stayed in the hotel for 2 nights, and in the morning, a Jewish man from Arnhem came and took me to his home in Arnhem. I stayed overnight in his house, and in the morning, he took me by train to a children's home in Wijk where I found my sister. We stayed there for 3 months, and then we were sent to an orphanage in Amsterdam, where there were other children who had gotten there by kinder transport. I was in the orphanage till April 1940. In the meantime, after I fled to Holland, my mother hired a smuggler to smuggle her into Belgium. She was caught the first time by the Germans and spent the night in jail. I made it up into Belgium on the 2nd try. The quarters number my father had registered for at the American consulate in 1933 had come up, and he received a visa to come to the United States. He came to the United States in June 1939. Once in the United States, my father found a sponsor for my mother and my sister and myself. We received our visa to enter the United States in March 1940. We were reunited on April 5th, 1940, as we boarded the ship that would take us to the United States. We left Rotterdam on April 5th, 1940, and arrived in New York on April the 17th.